Today, we're going to talk about the Nike Epic React Flynit after 270 miles. .92 miles, 8 minutes and 12 seconds per mile. That put me just over the 270 mile mark in the Nike Epic React Flynit. And this is a shoe, to be honest, I didn't think that I would get to 270 miles in. I bought the shoe initially when it first came out, or very close thereafter. I think that I actually bought this particular version in the sneakers app because I don't think this was one of the original colors that was released. It's still one of my favorite versions of the Epic React. I just like kind of the, I don't know what you want to call it, cookies and cream, the gray and black, whatever it is. I just like the way that the shoe looks. Overall, let's talk about how the shoe's held up in terms of wear. You can see where my foot is starting to hit, particularly on this shoe. It's in the right side of the heel back here and right in the ball of foot in the center. I always felt like when they made the Epic React Flynit, they made a mistake and they should have brought the rubber down to like here, down like another almost 2 inches. And it's a problem that they fixed when they released the Odyssey Reacts and the Legend Reacts, because they have like the 2 strips of rubber that go much further down, almost towards the arch of the foot. But that's where I'm seeing a lot of wear. Where I'm very surprised is that this area up here in the rubber isn't completely gone. It's worn down right in this little spot. The rest of it's doing real well. And the rubber on the forefoot is all doing really well. That's definitely worn, but none of it is worn smooth. And so I'm still seeing that there's a lot of tread and traction there. And even the way that the React foam that you run directly on right here is holding up has been really surprising. I used to think that the way that React foam wore when you ran directly on it was one of the most disgusting things that I had ever seen on a shoe. Then I ran in the Zoom Fly SP, and then I saw what Lunar Lawn looks like when you run directly on it, and that is the most disgusting thing that I've ever seen in terms of the way that a shoe outsole wears. But this actually doesn't bother me. It's looking really good. I think that, at least in terms of the way it's worn, it looks better. I mean, there's more wear than there was at 100 miles, but it looks better than it did at 100 miles because I think there was a lot more fraying and all that just like weird gunky stuff. I don't know. I think maybe it's just, the more I talk about it, the more I think it's just me in terms of looking at the bottom of shoes. Anyway, other things that are notable is that the Flynit has been doing really well. I've loved it from the beginning, and it has held up well. There's no like super worn spots. There's a little bit along the sides, but there's nothing where my toes are poking through or it's super deformed or anything. If you can tell, it's really super subtle. I never noticed it until just now, and I was looking really closely at the shoe. There's a little spot right here where my big toe is, and it's a little bit raised. I'm not sure that's going to show up on camera, but that's there. But other than that, the mold of the Flynit is holding up really well. I really enjoy wearing this shoe. I've worn it everywhere. I've taken it running on a trail, which is unusual because I never go trail running. And I run on the normal paths that I normally run in. And I've worn it casually a whole bunch because there was a period where after the 100-mile mark, I really wasn't a huge fan of this shoe, and I really only wore it casually because it was comfortable to walk around in, and I think it looks great. But then as I was getting ready for the marathon, I was looking for a Nike shoe that I could wear from my closet that wasn't a Zoom Fly, a Turbo, or the Vaporfly. And so this was kind of the only thing that I had left in the closet because remember after I got into end of life on the Pegasus 35s, I cut them up, and so I couldn't wear them. And not that they were really wearable anyway after 270 miles for me. And so this is what I kind of turned to. And I think I found a sweet spot for this in my kind of running collection. And I know a lot of other people really like it to go fast. They like it for lots of other things. They like it for long distance. I've always been a little bit of an outlier. I wasn't a huge fan of the Epic React for speed, and I didn't really like it for distances longer than 7 miles or so. I always felt like the right foot started to bottom out, or maybe it was the left foot. One of the feet always started to feel like they was bottoming out, and then it gave me like arch pain every once in a while on a longer run. But then when I switched to using this shoe as more of like a recovery shoe, a slower distance shoe, like remember when we talked about the Zoom Fly, both the SP and the Flynit versions, we talked about there being like a 2-shoe dichotomy. When you're going fast, the shoe feels great. When you're going slower and more relaxed, it feels almost uncomfortable. That's where this shoe kind of fit perfectly in. On those slower days, the React foam here actually was really nice to run in. And I don't know if it's that the React wears over time differently. I don't know if my feet toughened up over the summer. I'm just having a hard time explaining what it is about it, but I think it's mainly the slower pace for me in this shoe, and it was a lot more agreeable. And then even yesterday, I got out there and got up to faster paces. It was a shorter run. It was 8 miles total, so I didn't have a huge amount of time for things to start feeling like they were bottoming out, but the shoe was feeling pretty good. I'm also in a weird spot foot-wise, and so I'm hesitant to put out this review because of the fact that I just finished a marathon and I'm getting ready for another one. I'm tapering now, 2 weeks out. I'll be in Indianapolis for the Indianapolis Marathon. So I'm hesitant to kind of do a shoe review, but since we did hit 270 miles, I just kind of wanted to give a check-in on how this shoe is doing for me. It definitely feels like there is less cushion in the shoe overall, and in the forefoot there's less there, but I don't know if that's what I needed. The shoe is just so confusing to me, and I'm having a hard time kind of understanding what I think about it, but it's holding up really well. I think that for those of you who have liked the Epic React to begin with, you're going to be really happy with how it wears over time, because it's doing great. All of like the glued on parts with the swoosh and the TPU heel counter, they're all doing really well, keeping me feeling like I'm in the shoe. It's still a lightweight shoe. It's done a little bit of the foot curling thing that shoes do over time as they age, but I'm kind of really liking it. If there's another Epic React that comes out in 2019, I might get it. I'm not sure. I'm on the fence. But this has definitely surprised me. It's pretty much at the end of life for me. I'm thinking I could probably get, for me who normally tries to retire a shoe, I start thinking about it at end of life at 270 for my Nike shoes. And then usually about by 300, I think they're pretty much dead. I think that I could easily get this shoe to like 325, 350 and still feel pretty good about it. But the temperature is dropping here in Chicago, and there's lots of other shoes that I'm planning on reviewing in the next, hopefully before the end of 2019. So I probably won't get past 300 in these guys, but easily could. One last thing is to go over the charity runner for today. What I'm trying to do is donate $5 a day to a different charity runner and spotlight them at the end of every video. Today's charity runner is Helen. She's going to be running the Venice Marathon coming up this weekend to help raise money for St. Francis Hospice. A hospice, for those of you who don't know, is a place where people spend some of their final days. It's a place where people can get the care that they need and be as comfortable physically and emotionally and spiritually as I can before they pass on. And St. Francis Hospice is a place that took care of Helen's mother several years ago before her mother passed. And she's going to be running the marathon this weekend in her mother's memory and to help support and raise money for St. Francis and their efforts. If you want to be featured as a charity runner for the day, let me know your fundraising link, or if you know someone that wants to be featured as a charity runner, put their link either in a comment, message me on Instagram or Twitter, or send me an email, or however you can get me that information. And I'd love to help you guys out by at least giving you a $5 from me, and hopefully we can get some other people to donate as well. That's all I have for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?